Now that we have our material set up, let's go to 2D Toolpaths and choose Face. Within Face, it comes up with another dialog box. We'll get more familiar with this as we continue to use it. But it's pretty much the same throughout Fusion. You have your tool selection, your geometry selection, your heights, the retracts, the depth of cuts, your passes, which can control many different things from multi-passes to step over passes, and we call that radial tool engagement and axial tool engagement. And over here we have some lead in, lead out information. Let's select our tool. Now if you built your tool library, you should already have the tools that we have for this project. I have mine under here, under American Router, and we're going to use a 2-inch face mill for facing. Later on in class, we'll learn about setting feeds and speeds and how we do that. Right now, I'm taking the defaults that I've pre-set up on here. You can pause the video and set yours to that as well, but we'll go over that in another lecture. This lecture is about making sure we can select the proper geometry, the proper heights, and how we're going to machine each individual part. Second, here, we're going to go to the geometry. Now, as you can see, it selected this full range of geometry. That's not what we want. We want to just face this one, this middle part, and I'll scroll in here, and you can see that the second op leaves this material that we have to remove to get to our part. So what we're going to do is make sure that we have that one on. This one is our middle one of our vise. Oops, excuse me. This one here, op 2, and that's the one we're going to deal with. So we're going to select the rectangle, and you can see that it got rid of that big contour over all three components or parts. We just want to face this one. Thereafter, we want to tell it where we want the Z to go. Well, this is where it's different because it's parametrics and I have three different heights of my parts. They're all different heights. And so I'm trying to make it where I can focus just on this and my height. So I'm going to use and focus a lot on the top height. That'll be the top of the material, and the bottom height where we want to machine to. So I'm going to come over here to top height and select the top of that part. And I can zoom in on here, and all I have to do is find an edge, and now it's set to that selection. Now the bottom part, in reality, we can still use that same one and choose selection, and we can choose that. And by choosing that, that allows us to have the top of stock and where we want to machine it. The next one we want to do is add some what we call multi-depths. We don't want to come through this and cut this whole piece off in one shot. So we're going to recommend about a 40 thou radial axial tool engagement. And so we'll put in here 40 thou under multi-depths. We activate it. And now when we hit OK, you can see that there should be some multi-passes on there that actually cuts it down. Now let's face the other part. So let's go ahead and fit it to screen. We can choose here to fit to screen or F6. Now I'm going to also pan it over, and I'm using the pan here, and I can see what I want. I also can use rolling my mouse to get to it closer. So we're focusing on this one. Next step I'm going to do is face again. We're using the same tool. The geometry is different. Again, you can see it continues on here. I'm going to use this stock, and that would be op 1 stock. Turn it on, off. You can see it. That's what I chain. Say I need to face that. Now the heights. Well, I don't want to machine my height to the top of the stock, but that is the top of my stock. So in my top stock, I'm going to use selection because we have different heights. That's my top stock. But in the model top down here for bottom heights, I want to select the actual model, but the model's not here. I will have to come over here and turn it on, turn op 1 off, and come over here and touch my model. Now I set my tool to go to the top of that model by touching it. When I hit OK, you'll see a single toolpath go through there. So now we just controlled both our parts. At this time, I'm done with all my rough material on these two as well as the third one, but I need to activate my model, my second model, and my third model, whoops, wrong model, there. And from here, hitting F6, it'll make it fit. I have all my models on the screen now that I'm going to machine. And I can always zoom in and zoom out to make it easier. At this point, I have one face toolpath and two tool face paths, plus my setup. You see all of them? Now, if I wanted to verify at this time, I can learn to come up to the top here and go to simulate, and this will simulate an actual cut of the material. As we look at the dialog box, we see that we're going to activate the tool. I can turn it off or I can turn it on. We can turn the holder on or just look at the flute. I'll leave the holder on. We can also show the toolpath or no toolpath, but also with it expanded, we can see all toolpath or just a trailing toolpath. So as it goes, it'll disappear. Play around with these, enjoy what you want to see, but I'm going to use tail. And then I can activate my stock. Now my stock is real solid. I'm not going to be using that one, so I'll pull this here. What I'm going to do is make it translucent, and I can see the part under there. So I'm going to look at these two only, these two parts. Let me minimize this as this time, and I'll rotate around, and you'll be able to see it. Go to my front view, and now I will play it right here. As you can see, it's cutting the part and removing the material. There's our toolpath for facing, and that's how we verify both of them.